So the homework started with adding a second field of your choice to the form. All right. Maybe we don't know how to do all that stuff. We can figure that part out. Let's give it a shot. Here's a form. Here's a field. How about a second field? Input. Type equals text. Sure, why not? Placeholder. We'll do level. And we should probably give it a name. Name equals level. Hey, where's my placeholder? Did I do something wrong? Plaque holder. Not there. Because I mistyped it. Good reason for it not to work. Cool. Doesn't seem like level probably needs to be that big. It's just going to be a little number. We can make that one a little narrower if we wanted to. How about we add a class of small? Why not? And in our CSS, I already do some stuff with inputs of type text, so I'll just write around the same place. Yeah, okay, I'll put it at the end, so it'll be easier for you to find stuff that I've added. All right, so at the end, I'll say input. Oh, no, it was class, right? Class of small or smaller? What did I say? Small. Input class small. You get that that's the selector, right? So you put a selector, the same kind of thing you'd put in document.query selector, followed by some curly braces, then CSS properties, CSS values. So how about width? 3 rim. What the heck's a rim? Anybody know what a rim is? Maybe it shouldn't be a rim. Maybe it should be an M. Say again? A little louder, please. Oh, well, that is one thing it is. It was also a band, right? REM, but not in this case.
I have a question. Is that input, is that an attribute that you're attaching to the small?
Is what?
The input on line 136.
So this is a CSS selector that says, so this part says find any element on the page of type input. This selector says find any element on the page with a class of small. In other words, where I've said class equals small. Putting the two together like that means find me any element of type input with a class of small. So the dot means class. The input means the type of element. So an M is another one of those units. So px, pixel, that's the most obvious, right? EM is relative to the height of the current font. Rem is relative to the default font size for the page. I want it to be about 3 characters wide, so I'm going to say 3M. And I want it to be relative to whatever the font size is inside this input. But it didn't do it, because this is probably getting overwritten by another rule. So let's inspect it and see what happens. I've maybe made this a little bigger than I need in my dev tools. Width 3M, but it doesn't seem to be making any difference. I've got width 100% here. It's still not really making any difference. Why are you so big? I don't want you to be so big. Probably because of Flexbox. All right, so we're gonna have to do a little more trickery. Let's see. I can always experiment with my CSS right here in the browser. See what happens. How about flex grow 0? Now it's tiny. So let's turn on 3M again. It's still really, really small. What if I say width 100%? Yeah, Flexbox is the whole thing. So Flexbox is a layout system basically in CSS. It's really handy for dividing the space among multiple elements and being able to tell it what to do with the space that's left over. So if there's extra space left over, you can say, okay, these elements should get some of that extra space. These elements should not. This one should grow twice as much as this other one, that kind of stuff. So flex grow tells it relative to other things that are inside the same container, how much extra space should it get when there's space left over after I put all these things in it. So we've got our other text field here, and it's got flex grow 1 already. Let's see, I can't remember this. Is this, let's see. That's good. How about I do this? Okay, so here's how it's looking now, and I'm pretty happy with how that looks. So here's what I basically did. I'm saying on my input small, never mind width 3em. Let's just say flex grow 1. And then on the other, so input type text. So this here is this is a combination of several different things: flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis. But those are the default values. So I'm going to just get rid of that and say flex grow 4. So I have flex grow 4 on all text fields, and I have flex grow 1 on ones with a class of small. And yeah, I screwed it up now. If I change this to flex, so why is that different? What's the difference? It should be the same. 410. That should be exactly the same. That's right. I'll change it back to that. So flex. So the point here is, once we've put both inputs and the button on the page, there's still some space left over inside this row, for lack of a better word. And I want to distribute that unevenly. I want the first one to grow more than the second one does. So what I just said is, the extra space that's left over, the first text field should get 4 times as much as that extra space as the second field gets. And that will, that's another one called flex basis. Look that up on CSS tricks. The initial size of the flex item before any available space is distributed according to the flex factors. That's just the default value. But I don't think it's auto by default. I think it's 0 by default, but maybe it's auto, and that was my problem. Yeah, so that has to do with the relative size again. Again, not a CSS class, but if you can learn something along the way, that's cool. And I think I forgot to mention in the morning yesterday. I mentioned it in the afternoon. But my favorite site for that stuff is CSS Tricks. CSS Tricks is great. It has this almanac section where it has every single CSS property and a lot of really great examples. Plus, it's just a nice looking site. So this is my favorite resource for looking up CSS stuff. All right, so now I've got them the relative size that I want. But level, right now, I could write pancake in there if I wanted to. How about we don't even allow you to type in pancake? Kim got clever. She made an input of type color. I wonder if there is an input of type number. I screwed up my sizes again. What'd I do now? What happened now? Yeah. Oh, it wasn't. It's not of type text now, right? Yeah. So let's do type text, comma, input type number. So if you put a comma between two selectors, that means the same rule will apply to both. So I'll do the same with the focus rule down here. Spell name, fireball, level, pancakes. Can't do it now. Can't say pancakes. Have to say 3. Could I say like... Huh? Yeah, type a number in there. Could I do like... Oh yeah, I could get crazy. I could do like 3 times 10 to the 5th. And you see their little spinnies here. Woo! So again, exactly how this shows up is kind of up to your operating system and your browser. But number is one of those HTML5 input types, like color. They added a whole bunch more for things that used to always just use type equals text. And the way they work in older browsers that don't support the HTML5 input types is they just use a text field. So it's fine. So again, don't rely on this for validation. If it really, really can't be a number, you still need to probably check somewhere, but it can help. So cool. We'll just make that one a number. So now we've got a new field, but it doesn't do anything yet. I don't care. It's progress. I'm going to commit that real quick. Add level field type number. So wrote my commit message, hit Command Enter. Now I'll push so that it's on GitHub. My changes were just in my working directory. To let Git know about them at all, I use git add. But now we're doing all that with the graphical interface. So I'm adding and committing all in one step. So I add it and I commit it, make a checkpoint. I can get back to it now anytime. I make sure I have a commit message that makes sense, so I will know what I'm going back to if I try to go back to it. Yeah, Aaron, did you have something?
Is there a way to apply like lower and upper bounds to the number in the input field?
Without using JavaScript, I honestly can't remember.
Okay.
I think there might be. I think so. I think there's a min attribute and a max attribute, if I remember correctly. You can try it real quick. Min equals 1, max equals 5, we'll say. Yep, doesn't let me go any higher. Doesn't let me go down to 0. Yep, we can do that. Can I submit it if I have something other, if I leave it blank still? Yeah, it can be blank still. That doesn't stop it from being blank. So maybe 20. Specify, this commit will specify minimum and maximum spell levels.